Welcome back to another motorsport video, but today, as you might have read, we're reviewing this, the Fanatec Formula V2.5X, and what that means is different from, because there is the V.2, but the V.2.5, which is the only one you can currently purchase, is, the difference is the magnetic shifters, which you can see here and here. And some other noticeable things is the X is because this is, what's it called, Xbox compatible. It comes with different buttons, but I changed them. And then the features are, you have, as you can see, you have, I think it's 3, 6, 9, 10, 11. You have 11 buttons. They have 2 switches which you can put up and down. You have a rotary encoder, which is also a 7-way funky switch, I believe it's called, which you can also press. And then you also have a joystick. And why I was interested in buying this also is because these rotary encoders and the funky switches, or thumb encoders, which you can see here. So this has quite a lot of different things, but you will be seeing all of them right now whilst I will be talking about it and what it's good for. Okay, so as you can see, we are in the pits and let's go out. And at first, a good talking point is it's really small, the wheel diameter. I think it was roughly 27 centimeters, which means that this is quite easy to do rapid movements. So let's say if you're in a Formula 1 car and you wanna catch a slide, it's much easier with this one, as you just saw, which makes your driving a bit quicker. And thing which might help too with a smaller diameter, so you could be a bit more consistent maybe, because with my other steering wheel, which is the Porsche one, if you look on the website, the Clubsport Universal Hub Porsche wheel, what the issues with that one is because it has a larger diameter. When trying to go through these corners, it felt like I had to turn a lot more, even if I had like the same wheel radius I could go, so how much I have to turn the wheel to turn. That's because of the larger diameter. And something else with this steering wheel is because it is smaller, the force feedback effects are stronger, and it's a lot lighter. I think it's like, could be half the weight of it, which means it doesn't damper the force feedback effects as much, and also it means when it doesn't dampen the force feedback effect, you feel everything. So as you saw there, I let go of the wheel and I had a few problems because they quite easily turned into a arm-killing machine. But thankfully, at the CSL DD boost kit and not the DD1 but the DD2, because if I had those, well, if you haven't seen Q2 Racing's video, I recommend you to see it at 100%. Let's just say it gets injured. But otherwise, I feel like this steering wheel is a really good one. Even though I have heard from like Hamidovic, which is a much larger channel than me. He said that he didn't like this because it hurt in his shoulders and it could get really, it hurt him a lot whilst trying to drive the car. His hands, I think it was, which hurt a lot. But for me, my hands also hurt quite a bit but I don't think it's because of the size of them. I haven't gotten used to like the force feedback effects, maybe because but I feel like it's the force feedback maybe, but I don't feel like it's a problem which I can't get used to. But it's mainly when I focus on my hands hurting that they start hurting. If you understand what I mean, like mentally, if you don't think about the problem, then start to think about it, it gets worse. And as you can see, it's quite easy for me to just turn through here, but I can assure you that with a larger diameter wheel, especially for me, it's a really hard time. But then it was a bit hard for me to get used to this because of, I thought it was a little bit less like power you needed for it to turn. But then at the end of this lap, I do a non-speaking lap where you get to see me focusing, and after that we'll go on to another series which this thing wheel has been used quite a bit, and I mean within sim racing, because in the real world we don't use this size of wheels. So now no talking. So, and there was this lap. Now it's time to change car. So now we are in the, what's it called? The Mercedes AMG GT3. But because I was thinking, because we had a special race in this weekend, or last weekend I should say, which was the Bathurst 12 hours, let's race around Bathurst. And why I chose this car is because what I've seen quite a bit of is what's it called? Jardia, for example, and other racers who race with Fanatec like using this wheel because of its small size compared to the other GT3 wheels. from what I think is, yes, currently feels alright, but I think at the end of this lap I'm gonna give you a little bit of a verdict on it, but I feel like through certain corner combinations, like the one coming up, it could be really good using it. Yeah, as you saw, this corner section, where it's quite small and twisty, it could be good to have a smaller swing wheel. But in my opinion, what I feel like is because this car, well in this current setup at least, is really bouncy. So I feel like maybe the bigger wheel would be better, because you might not feel that bounce as much, and I shouldn't do that, but you don't feel the bounces as much maybe because of the weight of the steering wheel, and that makes it so you can focus more on the actual driving. But currently I feel like it's quite alright, the steering wheel actually. I personally won't be using, when driving GT3s or slow cars, I will be using a bigger wheel. I will be, because personally I feel like I want to go a bit with realism, because in my opinion, the teams chose the steering wheels for a reason. And maybe, I don't think the different drivers get to choose the different sizes, but of course the steering wheels get molded after their hands. But as you can see, it's quite easy to catch slips. And some of these slips you might not be feeling in a bigger steering wheel and heavier steering wheel, but which means that if you can feel them a bit earlier, you will be able to catch them. Some of them which you might think are uncatchable, which means you could become a higher speed driver and become more consistent. So and also, with this steering wheel, or this car, if I just stop here, you can see there's more than a 90-degree radius, or 180, which means if you were going to try and use one of these steering wheels for, let's say, a hairpin, or a larger a corner with a larger turn, and then I mean like a hairpin, it might be a bit hard because of the wheel radius you have to put on. That's another thing to think about. For the love of me, I can't complete that corner, but I think I've spoken enough about my opinions with it in the GT3 car. But another thing I might talk about also, which I forgot to talk about whilst driving the Formula car, is the functionality of the different buttons. So, as you can see, I have all of the buttons mapped to something, and these are TC and ABS, because I don't have a label for it, but with all of these buttons mapped to something, it's less time I have to spend, or in the car, less time on the button box on the side, and less time for me on trying to use buttons on the keyboard, which means I can I can have more control over the car was trying to change some things. And sometimes if I just remember where that button is, I don't even have to stop looking at the circuit or where I'm driving, so I have better focus, which is a good thing, because if you look at all of the Formula 1 cars, their steering wheel. They have a ton of buttons so they can do a ton of things on the fly. And a GT3 car might not have as many buttons, but they have button boxes. So if you at home maybe don't want a button box and want a lot of functionality, this thing will be good for you. But something you need to do is don't crash. But when we come to the end of this lap, let me, I did in the Formula car, I'm gonna do a non-talking lap. After that, I'll do my conclusion of what I think about this. Just remember to brake a bit earlier. There. And if you're wondering what game this is, it is called Automobilista 2, and it's my favorite sim currently for your information, and I recommend it to you. But now, I'm gonna close my mouth and allow you to watch. There we are done with the hot lap, and now it's time for my conclusion. Well, it's a really good wheel, let me just say. Bit on the expensive part. 400 euros I believe it is after tax in Europe, $400 I believe it is before tax in America. And would I recommend this wheel? Definitely. If you have the if you have the money for it and are interested in a Formula steering wheel, I believe this one is really good because you have all of the buttons you ever would want. You also have these farm encoders, which I think are really good. But what I would change on this is if you look at the normal one, it has like rubber grips instead of Alacantara. And what that means is if you're using this without gloves, it will get wrecked really quickly, which means you should use gloves. like these go-kart gloves you saw me use in the video. Alpine Star Tech 1KX if you wondered. But otherwise I would say this steering wheel is really good. But if you buy this and want to race different disciplines, I would recommend also buying a rounder steering wheel like the Porsche GT3 one, which I have, but that's more on the expensive side of things. But if you like this video, please hit the like button and comment, and also subscribe to my channel for new, so you never miss a new video on the Racing Legend 1234 YouTube channel. And my next video will be another video in the series I call Ready to React, and next week it'll be on the Spanish Grand Prix, which will hopefully be interesting. And if you want some mini updates, some shorter videos, I have moved all of my YouTube shorts, or all the future ones, to TikTok. So Racing Legend 1234 on TikTok if you want shorter content, but also the same person and as good or even better, some say. But until then, I've been Racing Legend, you've been my amazing viewers, thank you for watching, goodbye!